So yesterday I saw a video that actually kind of got me a little heated, a little dare I say disappointed. Um, and of course, obviously, if you've seen the title and look at the thumbnail, you know what we're going to be talking about. So yesterday there's a video. Man, screw it. I'm just gonna play the bloody video in case you haven't seen it, so you know what we're discussing.
You're great women. Why is that okay?
Why is it okay for women to say, "Oh, you're 5 feet on dating sites. You should be dead"? That's okay.
Who said that to you here? Nobody.
Women in general have said it on dating sites. You think I'm making that shit up? Everywhere I go, I get the same fucking smirk with the biting lip. Shut your mouth. You're not God or my father or my boss. Dude, you want to step outside? You want to step outside? Huh? I'm not scared of you, pal.
Enough.
You shut up, too.
You shut the fuck
no,
up.
Go ahead and attack me, big.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I just wanted bagels. I recorded the whole thing.
Now, you know, at first, I've seen lots of different titles. Even the Twitter posts that I originally saw this on, actually. All say that this guy was being a misogynistic asshole. And, you know, perhaps he was prior to the camera recording this. But I have to say that none of his comments were actually misogynistic. Nothing he actually said was even remotely close to, could even be remotely close to being construed as an angry comment against women or a hateful comment against women. Excuse me. Like, even if you look at his reply here, clearly there was some exchange going on prior to, because people don't normally like flip out like this. And I think that's kind of one thing that really disappoints me. You know, like the media in general, and social media is not really special in this regard, is that we always look at the end result of something, but we never ask ourselves the critical question of how did it escalate to this point? You know, like how did this guy get from walking into a restaurant to get his bagels to screaming and shouting and then getting taken down by this white knight? Like what happened? You know, and so I actually apparently the person who is the subject here has a YouTube channel and he explains what happened. I don't actually know if this is the actual person or if this is a parody video. I really can't tell, but he explains if this is true. Well, what originally happened was apparently he went in there to get some bagels, and the woman in the cash register, or the women in the back, kept asking if he wanted some mini bagels. They were clearly making fun of him for being short. And apparently he was already upset about the fact that he had a Tinder date lined up, and she ended up, I think, rejecting him or making fun of him for being short. Or either way it goes, he had a date set up, and it fell through. And I think it had something to do with the fact that he was short. And so obviously the guy's like 5 feet tall, and the comments and the snickering between the woman behind the cash register and the fact that he just got rejected on Tinder last night already put him in a really foul mood. And what we see here is the result of being insulted constantly over and over again and him exploding. Now, the thing that's actually particularly interesting, at least to me, is how people treat this man simply because he was already shouting at a woman. He's a misogynist, not because he actually said anything hateful about women. Because actually, again, let's analyze this line here. So we have to pretend that we don't live in a world where women sexually discriminate against men based on their height. We have to pretend that that is not the situation that we live in. It is. And if you want to deny that, then you are delusional. That's just that. You're delusional. You're in a different sphere of reality, but you're not here with us. Hopefully you find your way back to the light, because women clearly do indeed discriminate against men based on their height. Now, does this mean that no man ever in the history of a world who is short will never find a woman to date? Of course not. Of course it doesn't mean that. But are we going to sit here and pretend that they have the same success dating as men who are tall? No, they don't. They just don't. And if you want to argue that, you are delusional. You're out of your fucking mind. That being said, his comment, again, it's not so much wrong as it is. It's just a short, angry, bold man saying it. But the comment's not wrong, and it certainly isn't even misogynistic. Apparently, I don't know. He must have said something prior to But I don't even know if his original comment would have been misogynistic because of how he replied. He said, like, women say that you're too short and you should be dead and that's okay. Apparently, he had to have said something about women in particular first, and then the woman who was recording it, or next to the woman recording it, had some kind of reply. Obviously, there's some kind of back and forth. Obviously. I say that like that's a fucking revelation. My main point in kind of looking at this and analyzing it is not only just kind of to draw attention to the fact that, like, literally just shouting at a woman is considered misogyny, because that's really all it was. Like, he didn't, at least in the particular video, he didn't say anything, but just, like, being angry in a woman's presence alone is enough to get other white knights to try and defend her. And that's another thing that kind of bothers me, right? The fact that the guy did start, like, picking fights, right? But the thing that's interesting to me is the fact that no one had to take him up on it. And back when I was in high school, I had more maturity and wisdom than these people. And that's another reason why I was disappointed. Because there were times, like in high school, that's like the best time to fight. Because, like, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to get suspended. Like, you're not usually going to get assault charges for fighting in school. But even then, I had the wisdom to realize that not all fights are worth fighting. And there have been plenty of times where people would start fighting or would, like, square up to each other. And I would, like, break it up. I'd be like, look, guys, it's not worth it. Like stop. And there's, like, 3 times to my memory where, I would literally break up 2 people who squared off so they didn't fight, because I realized, like, God, it's not worth it. Like, and maybe they just needed someone else to say that as well and get their emotions in order. There's no one there who even tried or attempted to do that. Instead, you see this guy attack this man as if, like, he was really a danger to them. Like, he's 5 feet tall. Like, if you're over here making fun of him constantly for being angry and being short and being angry, and then this guy just jumps on top of him as if he was actually really doing something, when honestly, the situation could have just been avoided by everyone saying, you know what, this is stupid, like, whatever, like, get the bagel, dude, leave. Or everyone could have just stopped antagonizing him and just been like, dude, get the bagel, leave, like, it's good, don't worry about it. No one had any sort of maturity. No one had any sort of wisdom in the situation. And it just looks remarkably childish. It's amazing to me that people, I mean, I guess, no, I mean, you've got dickheads on the internet no matter what. But it's amazing to me that people in the situation itself are so childish. Like, it's like legitimately like high school-esque. And that includes the man in question as well. That also appeared very childish. But here's the thing. I think this is actually very important. Right, because I watched this this meltdown, and I was reminded of a scene from one of my favorite shows called The Originals, right? And it was the scene where Klaus kills Michael for the second time, and like the continuity of the show's universe, right? I mean, there's a whole explanation, but I'm not going to explain it. But before he kills him, Michael makes a point, or Michael insults him. And hopefully I can play this without copyright. So let's see if I can play this. And it's really amazing to me, actually. So I'm going to play it.
You don't seem surprised. Betrayal is in your nature, boy. No, I wasn't born like this.
So, there's a point here. The point is that Klaus did not become a treacherous, evil creature by design. He wasn't born that way. It's a culmination of all of his life experiences that got him to this point, that made him so cruel and evil. And I'm not here to say that the fat guy here or the short guy is cruel and evil. I don't really think he is. He could be, but I mean, based on that, it's not really a good, representation of him. But the point is, him being that angry is not something that happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Like, I mean, you've got people who think that he's like just short man syndrome. They're just making fun of him. But the thing that gets me is the fact that people don't get to this point, again, randomly on a Saturday afternoon. Like, this is a culmination of constantly being kicked down for being short. And I have a lot of empathy for men who are short. Like, I'm not short. Again, I'm 6'1". I don't have to deal with that shit anymore. But I get it, I really do. I really have empathy for men who feel inferior for being short, because they are going to be insulted. They are going to be put down, and there's nothing you can do about it. And of course, you can say, get over it. Of course, I mean, you can say get over anything, but the human mind doesn't work that way. Like, it's kind of dumb and useless advice to just tell people, to get over something if you're constantly being reminded of it over and over and over again. You know, it takes a lot of skill and it takes a lot of mental fortitude to take an insult or to take some kind of disability. I say disability. To take anything that hinders you in society and then turn it around and use it positively. Like it takes wisdom, it takes skill, it takes time. You can't just fucking get over it. Like what kind of dumbass advice is that? I don't even understand that shit. You just like stop being sad that you're short. How the fuck am I supposed to stop being sad that I'm short on a Saturday? I'm just supposed to wake up on Monday. Oh well, yesterday I was sad, but I'm not sad no more. Like, of course not. If you're being rejected constantly because you're short, you feel like no one's gonna care about you or love you because you're short. Women are constantly saying this because you're short X, Y, and Z. You're supposed to just get over it. What kind of nonsense is that? And I see people say that all the time. How are you just supposed to get over something like that? Like how do you just wake up on Saturday like I'm not sad about being short? Of course you're gonna be sad. And here's the thing. Like I said, I had friends of mine who were short. Like, you know, and I don't mean like shorter than me, because relatively speaking, lots of people are short relative to me. But I mean like I'm talking about like 5'4". I'm talking like 5'3". You know what I mean? Like short guys. I'm not talking about 5'7". You know what I mean? I'm not talking about 5'6". I'm talking about short guys. Okay, and they were all nice guys. Usually, there's one that comes to mind that was just kind of weird. But usually my friends who were short, they were nice guys. They were great guys. They were kind. They were very intelligent people, you know. And they didn't have success dating women, not because they were shitty people, because they were short. And in order to compensate for the fact that they were short, they had to exercise a lot. They worked out, so they were jacked guys, but they were short. And that's a motivation for a lot of short people who get into the gym like that. They feel like they have to compensate for something that they're lacking. When in all, I mean, they're really not. Like being a short, I mean, it really isn't a bad thing on its by itself, but because it is a barrier to getting what you want, and that is women, and you want to have the approval of women, it's gonna feel awful and shitty when you're constantly being rejected for it. Like I don't think any short guy is really like, unless he might be like a skinny dweeb, like really cares about the opinions like other men calling him short. Like I don't really think that really would bother anyone, you know, over time or like over the years. And we'll talk about the people that it does bother in just a second. But I mean, usually that's not really the case. Usually the problem is that it's more really deeply in, I want to date women, I want to be around women, and I can't, based on something I can't even control. I can't improve my height. You know, I can't get taller. You know what I mean? Like I can't level up and just hit a growth spurt. Like it is what it is, and I didn't control it. I can't do anything about it, and that's really painful. You know what I mean? And there's just like, there's a lot of lack of empathy for men like that, and I can see that, and I feel that pain. You know, but another thing that kind of gets me is not just because I see that pain in him, but excuse me, again, it's like he wasn't born this way. Like to see someone explode and be that angry is not something. I mean, it's random to everyone involved, but it's not random to him. Like his whole life is a culmination of different events and moments that got him here, and that's all of us as people. That's all of us as human beings. We're all a culmination of our life experiences that get us here. And if we have a bunch of negative life experiences, eventually it's going to break. You're going to explode. You're going to get angry. And that's what it was. Like this is a moment of him being angry. And it's embarrassing, unfortunately, for him that this is the only take people have of him. But, you know, there's more to people than just an explosion of anger at one time. And if you judge people just based on that, you're missing everything that got them up to that point prior to. And that's, I don't think it's fair to people at all. You know what I mean? It's totally not rational. And it's just not morally fair to anyone. Like, no one is born that way. No one is just born wanting to scream and shout and like throw shit. Like this again, for him to get to this point was a constantly him getting knocked down for being short. And we all know, you know it, and I know it, you know. So I mean, you know, memes are funny and everything, but I don't think that it's right to forget or to think that this guy is just like just crazy, you know what I mean? That's just not true. That's not the case. Something happened to him for a long period of time, and that's a lot of men's life experiences. That's a lot of men are feeling that way as well. There's just like no empathy at all for how they get here. And so when I was thinking about that, this is actually kind of one of the reasons why I like character studies in TV shows, and why I showed Klaus Michelson earlier in the video, because again, Klaus Michelson is a heinous individual, like a heinous creature in general. He's a vampire werewolf hybrid. But for as evil and megalomaniacal as he is, he as he said, wasn't born that way. And we look at a lot of different like incel killers, right? And we look at a lot of different crazy school shootings. We look at all these different situations, right? And we all pretend that they come out of nowhere. We all pretend that like these people didn't have a life prior to when they went crazy and started shooting up people. But I mean, we all got to have a little bit more wisdom than that. Like today, it's a guy in a bagel shop screaming and shouting. Tomorrow, it's a school shooter. Tomorrow it's a guy shooting up a business. Tomorrow it's a guy going to a sorority house and shooting up people. Like, these people don't come out of nowhere. Man, shut up, phone. These people don't come out of nowhere. It's a culmination of their life experiences that get them to this point. And I don't think it's fair to sit here and mock this guy and pretend that that's just not the truth, because it is. Is he misogynistic? He might be, but the video really doesn't show it. But what I do think is important to realize is that, again, like, this isn't, people just don't get like this. Like, life has to knock them down a lot. And I honestly think that if people are scared of like incel killers or incel shooters, school shootings, or if they're scared of people flipping out and hurting individuals, then you gotta realize and recognize. You gotta realize and you gotta recognize that your actions, especially to these people you recognize as crazy or out there, is definitely very important. You gotta realize that even the smallest and simplest of kindness and maturity can kill situations like this, and can kill and can stop people from going crazy and spiraling out of control. Like today, it's a short, angry, fat man. But what if that short, angry guy like had a gun? What if he had a switchblade? Like, then it'd be a totally different story, right? But really, it wouldn't, because it would still be all of these different things that got him here. So if you guys want to stop evil, man, if you guys want to stop these crazy people from attacking, then you gotta realize and recognize that they weren't born crazy. You gotta stop mocking them. You gotta stop ostracizing them, because nothing's ever gonna get better by just doing shit like this. It's just not. And it just seems really silly to me that people are always like scared and upset when these people flip out, but no one ever realizes, yeah, they didn't get like that on Saturday. They didn't get like that last week. There's a whole bunch of things building up until they explode. So that being said, I just hope you guys got something out of today's video, and if you did, man, go and click the like button. Shoot, go and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. As always, you guys have yourselves a great day. We'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.